Hello, my name is Coach Oyama. I have a passion to help you improve, and I specialize in macro analysis. And oh god, I gotta shut. Oh, I do all my coaching for free, and all you gotta do is DM me. So here's my contact. Here's my Discord if you don't have it. Here's some experience that I have as a player and coach. So let's get right into the VOD review, and then we'll quickly look at the VOD review. Third point attack was abysmal. Round 1 is 5. Oh, another route 60. Match is just fine. Obviously, there are flaws, but that's nothing new. Alright, so hopefully I can help you become a better player here. And I like taking a top-down approach, but usually if you're in the lower ranks, which is not like GM. Okay, let's say like not Diamond. There's a lot of explaining on mechanics to do. So, mechanics and fundamentals of Overwatch. Sombra, honestly, is a very hard character. So if I can somehow convince you to... How did you get detected there? Did you get detected through the wall? You did. There's no... Overwatch. That was not supposed to happen. Okay. Yeah, so I'm probably going to be explaining a lot of fundamentals, but if I could somehow convince you to not play Sombra, if you don't have, like... Why can I not see that? Maybe it was the enemy Sombra. Okay, no. But if I can somehow convince you to not play Sombra, oh, there's going to be a lot of general knowledge that I want to talk about in the beginning, in this VOD review here. Oh, very nice. Wait a second. You're popping off. Woo! This is actually some pretty good gameplay for Bronze 5. Is this a joke? Honestly, this is my first Bronze 5 player. I'm not expecting too much, but this is some pretty good gameplay. I would say there are a couple of habits that I want you to implement that will remove the risk of your gameplay, but for now, the fundamentals of what I'm watching is a-okay. I think there might be a bit more like a FPS game isk, lacking of micro almost, because I feel like your gameplay is a bit it feels like a bit slow, almost slow to react to threats. That's what I mean. For example, like you'll get low on health, or someone will look at you where you definitely don't win that 1v1, and then you just continue to 1v1 them. So it's a bit like a almost like reckless, but I think it's just more so of like lack of understanding. Okay, so yeah, let's go over this clip here. I feel like every time you engage, geez, okay, let's talk about two different things in engagements while I'm waiting for you to respond. Good color. We have, on one side we have cooldowns, positioning, and health. And these are the different resources that will determine positioning / space. Because obviously if you have something to hide behind and they don't have something to hide behind, that's the hardest one to realize for new players especially. It's like even at GM levels, like positioning is the hardest. But if you have something to hide behind and they don't have something to hide behind, that's the best possible scenario. And you have high ground. That's the best, and they have nowhere to go. They have to walk in a straight line or stand still in a corner. But just to put it out there. So if you balance those as well as oh yeah, critical levels. Critical levels isn't as important as cooldowns, positioning, and health. But cooldowns, positioning, health, like I'll be drilling this into like even GM players, but this is more of on the side. Let's just talk about cooldowns, positioning, health. Every 1v1 that you take inherently will be different, because you know it's like up against a Zenyatta, your 1v1s are going to be very easy. Up against a like Cassidy or a Baptiste, that's probably the hardest person to 1v1 because he has the most survivability. So it's like even if you have full cooldowns, positioning, and health, it won't really matter. But for you as a Sombra player, if you have half health and the enemy has half health, I would rather you save your own life if you still have those cooldowns, because you traded more cooldowns for their cooldowns, and the positioning is like, your positioning is very fluid and dynamic as a Sombra. So when you're taking some of these engagements here, let me
Surrender to my will.
and then I'll explain critical levels after we go into this engagement here. I feel like you're playing very active earlier in the first point, and I like that much better. You're creating much more opportunity. But, there were moments where you could have EMP'd. And I'll talk about ultimate usage, there's another point. But I think cooldowns, positioning health, and analyzing the 1v1s, and how to better pick and better deny 1v1s, because if you pick a 1v1 and it's a good 1v1, that's good, but on the other end, if you take a 1v1 and let that 1v1 happen when it's not good for you, you're wasting your time and possibly putting yourself at risk of dying, which would be bad for losing 1v1. Nice call on the Roadhog, nice movement out of that Sombra. Pretty good stuff. I don't know how you're bronze 5, to be honest. Maybe, I think the general Overwatch population has improved then. Because I don't usually look at, like, lower MMR games. But this is looking pretty promising, pretty good. Okay, maybe not that break, but, like, your gameplay is pretty decent in my opinion. Very nice. Yeah, it seems like I'm going to be harping on you. Okay, so, example right there. Positioning cooldown health. You had no health, your positioning was pretty bad because you didn't know where the Sombra was. Ish. I mean, that's relative. Not necessarily that was bad, but it was just like, yeah, you're out in the open, you don't have a corner to hide behind. And then cooldowns, you have even cooldowns. But as soon as you get down to half health, let's talk about critical levels. What are critical levels? So in bronze, I would say your critical level is like, it's going to be like 50 HP. The higher you go, you know, like the more lethal enemy players will be. So if you're a support player who's at like 180 HP in GM, that's enough for an enemy DPS player in GM, like an owl level tracer, to be like, okay, I can one clip them now. Versus in bronze, it'll be a bit different. It'll be like, if I'm at 70 HP, then maybe they can one clip me. But I would say to be very careful. Half health is a good critical level. Otherwise, you're like being belligerent and reckless. So when you're at half health, you want to put your mind into a different mode of like, I can't take 1v1s because my HP is too low. And I need to get my HP back up, or else I'm just offline. I can't use my kit. I provide zero value to my team because I'm offline and I can't do anything else without risking dying and going offline for even longer. So instead of just keep on going and at half health and then risk dying, why eliminate that risk? Just go offline for 4 seconds, have your supports heal you or get a health pack, and position yourself, your translocator, in a good place where that offline time is really low. And being offline for 4 seconds, and of course we'll get into like, you know, once you get on this and you're no longer dying and you're just going offline, sometimes like 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds is just as bad as being dead or even worse. But for you, now just being offline, now that you know it's an option, is way better than being dead. So if you had a translocator to come out here once you reach that critical level of, I'm going to set it at 100 HP for you, just in general, that's a very conservative level. Of course, it's case by case, because if you're dueling a tracer, it's going to be like 25 or 50, because the tracer will only be able to blink melee you at that level, and you have plenty of time to react compared to like a Widowmaker or a Hanzo. If you're at like 90 HP against a Hanzo, that's like one-shot territory, and you should be like scared. You should be pooping your pants at that point. And so when we're talking about the engage here, oh my, Levi is online? Bro, rise and grind. It's 9 a.m. What am I to say? I'm doing VOD reviews at 9 But needless to say, when you're in any engagement and you somehow don't have enough HP, this is just an HP, not talking about cooldowns or positioning, but you know, it ties in a little bit, because if you have a really good position, then your critical level goes down and you're like, oh, I can just hide behind this corner and I still have a really good chance of 1v1ing even though I'm below half HP. Then, you know, you can put your critical level down a bit. But once you're like, I would say, just as a generality, to play it safe, if you're always, whenever at 50 HP, yes, I see you hiding behind a corner, so you know about it. Beautiful EMP there. I like that. Yeah, putting yourself where your translocator, utilizing your yeah, like right there, you saw it. In your head, you're like, critical level 50, I need to get the hell out of here because I'm going to die because I don't have enough HP. That in same engagement, I'm just breaking it down to like understand and rationalize and be able to create consistency through knowing what's going on. If that same engagement you had full HP, I can guarantee you wouldn't translocate out and you'd still be shooting him. So it's in the fact that you don't have enough HP to continue that engagement that that's why you translocated out. And so if we apply that principle to every single engagement, we'll see more consistency as a player. And okay, let's talk about chance locator usage. One, the easy way out, but the not most efficient, is just put it on a health pack and hack the health pack, a mega health pack that's safe. On this point, it's pretty hard because there's only like one mega health pack. There's two, so gas station in here. Except when, as a generality, if you look at the overall team fight, there's usually a line between the enemy team and your team, and so that line is usually around here. And both health packs are for the attackers, so that's a bit rough. But if you can hack those health packs, that's even more value for your team. So yeah, but so now that you're in this, if we draw the line, because Sombra is very hard because of this reason, because of the off time. But if we draw the line-ish and then like think about where the line can expand and contract to, if it expands for you guys, it'll be over here. So it's okay to put your translocator over there if you're gauging that the team fight goes forward. And this is a bit more higher level concept, but Sombra is a high level concept play, and I don't want to put you like forever offline and recommend that you only hack a health back and throw your translocator over there because it's the safest option. But just to open your mind here, maybe this will go into the third tip. But if you put your translocator over here, that's really, really safe. The offline time's not bad because your supports are probably anywhere over here behind the line, behind the contractionary line right here. And your supports will be able to heal you, and then everything will be okay. Yeah, that was too much fun not to do. But you will be able to get out of situations way fast, consistently, first of all, which I think you're not doing too bad of a job. But second, your offline time will be way better. Oh, beautiful 1v1 on that guy. But oh, okay, this is a decent place to translocate. I will say though, there are controllable and there are uncontrollable factors whenever you're playing ranked, and it's easy to see that the uncontrollable ones are how good your supports are. So if they're never healing you, then you kind of have to gauge in your head, okay, I should put it closer to a health pack and just hack that one health pack. I don't recommend hacking every health pack on the map. That was like a very Overwatch 1 old thing to do, but yeah, needless to say, your engagements, your hacking, your positioning, and target focusing are all pretty good, to be honest. Say the only thing is, maybe I want you to be a bit faster in between the swapping of each. God, hack lasts for so long, I'm not used to it. I was like, how is that Reaper hacked? Oh yeah, it's right. It lasts that long. So, pretty good mechanics here. Oh, okay. So this translocator here, I'm going to talk about mostly just translocators. How long is this replay? How long can I talk? Okay, it's 12 minutes in. We have more minutes of replay. Okay, that's manageable. Yeah, so analyzing your risk here, you put yourself in a very risky position. So if we draw that, remember, overgeneralization again, the line, it's flexed to over here. It kind of rotated on this like pivot point where it used to be over here, which is kind of scuffed. But, you know, the higher level Sombra that you are, you'll be able to realize, okay, that line might rotate. But at the same time, if we zoom out, that line also might rotate this way. And so it's really not, I'm not honing in too hard on this because that line could have rotated this way and then your translocator is fine, in which case putting your translocator over here wasn't good. So that's why Sombra is so hard, because there's so many things to think about, and you have to like know that to be able to control more variables, which this is a controllable variable, but just a very hard one. And talk about EMPs also in a bit. I like that EMP too. It was pretty good. And then I'll also talk about during EMPs, I'll talk about the overview of how Overwatch team fights are structured-ish, kind of. Give you just a better idea of when to ult. But I feel like your when and where to ult are all pretty good. Okay. Just the next round, please. Very good. Very good. Did you win this game? If you didn't win this game, I don't know how you didn't win this game. It seems like you guys are playing really well. Yeah, that critical level is very important. I think. Are you playing on? I feel like your movement's kind of slow, to be honest. Oh, and then I don't know why you translocated all the way back here. I think that was an accident. But if that was on purpose and you wanted to move your translocator, just delete your translocator. Yeah, remember the line for, oh my god, why are we over there? I pressed the wrong button. But the line for the team fight could shift over this way really fast, and then your translocator's not in a good spot. So that's a very high level concept, but I'm going to say just move it back a little bit more on this point. And also, a lot of this, instead of thinking about it, will be a lot of experience, where it's just like, oh, I got my translocator broken here. I should probably just put it around a health pack around where I think my supports will be in the future, compared to where I put it last. It'll be very map dependent, because, you know, map and team comp dependent. Even if you're playing on the same map against a different team composition, is a bit different. Okay, so your offline time here is way too excessive for what I'd like. If you can win the next, when you go to the next choke point, which this map doesn't really have objective choke points. They're very subjective, they're very dynamic, and they're very abstract. Because I would say this is a choke point right here. This is also a choke point. Tragic enough, this is also a choke point. This can be a choke point. This also can be a choke point. Yeah, that's why. Because there's no definite choke points. Like King's Row has literally a choke point. It has like a great wall that you go through, and that's the choke point. So it's easy to put your translocator there. Yep. Very nice EMP. And then I guess I can start talking about EMPs now. Yeah, so the translocator position, this translocator position is pretty good. I like it because none of the enemies can get up here. And so if that's what you were thinking in the first place, that would be really nice. But I don't think that you were thinking about that, and I think it's more of a habit. So if they have anyone who can get up there, that would be a bad translocator. I'm just going to put that out there. But in the case that you did put it up there and they have no one who can get up there very easily right now, I'm going to say it's good. Beware though, because usually they'll have someone who can get up there and it'll turn it into a bad one. So just don't get in the habit of like, oh, this is good, and then just like not adapt. But okay, so let's talk about EMPs. Your last EMP, the EMP before that, and the EMP before that one were all very good. And I'm gonna start to go over this next high level concept. That so the last one was like cooldown, positioning, and health. Maybe I'll just do the tips on the those, and then how you can implement them. No, they'll be fundamental, and then I'll do the tips on like your cooldown usage and stuff. So your EMPs, let's go over cleanup, mid-fight, or whoop. God, what do I know? Pre-fight or setup, pre-fight, or I'm gonna call it setup, mid-fight, and then cleanup. So in setup, everyone has full attention and full resources, and they're gauging the scene. The mid-fight is different because that's like the middle of the fight. Like right now, it's mid-fight; it's no longer setup. Very, very nice. And what characterizes mid-fight is attention and cooldowns, or cooldowns, health, and positioning. When they have just a little less of each, usually a positioning will be tied to attention, but attention is a bit different. What is the ledge there? But when their attention goes away from looking out and scoping the situation and towards, they'll tunnel vision until like high pro scene. You tunnel vision into how can I get value, what like doing their, let them cook, you know, while they're cooking their attention is not looking for you, which in the setup it is. So that's another indicator to get in when the fight is in mid fight. And I think you should ult not in the setup phase. Never ult in the setup phase because they're all ready for your ultimate and they'll have everything at their disposal to counter it or be ready for it at least. Ult in between the setup and the mid fight, or even better in the mid fight. But the hard thing is if you ult in the mid fight, sometimes it'll be too late or too hard to get the EMP out. So this fight here is kind of in the pre-fight, to be honest. And this is a hard EMP. I'm not gonna lie to you, because your team wasn't doing anything and they didn't seem to want to do anything, so you kind of had to make something happen. But okay, so what you can do, because this is still the setup. This isn't really in the mid fight yet because nothing has happened. They still have full resources. Maybe they use their shield, but and then also a very high level concept. But some players are different. Some players get high level concepts really easily. If you can somehow track when you think they'll have ults, because like in generality, maybe it takes 2.5 team fights for them to get to Zenyatta, Trank, and Rally or Rally. those ults will definitely hard counter yours. So if you use your ult and they counter it with just their ult, that's a lot of value for them. And so if you can ult track, that's what we call it, and say like, oh, I can deny if they have sim wall, so I'm going to save my ult for sim wall. Or if I ult and they deny it with one of their support ults, that's really bad for me. But in generality, I'd say don't worry about that. It's a really high level concept unless you're like insane and you just love doing that and you just get it. But okay, so the way for you to transition this from setup into mid fight is use your own health cooldowns and positioning to trade it for theirs. Because if you trade, for example, if you have $10 and they have $10, if you trade $5 for $6 of theirs, that'll snowball to get you into the mid fight. Because then now they'll start, your team will start trading, and then they'll trade back with your team. And if you somehow, even if it's not a good trade, even if you trade like $7 for their $5, they're ahead of you. I'm just using dollars as a general units, or like 7 units of cooldown and health and positioning, or 70% of their total. It'll more likely be like 30% of their total for your like 50% of your total of what you can offer in value for your team. It'll snowball and allow your team more opportunity to get into the mid fight. So instead of EMPing here in the very beginning where everyone has, look, so if we look at the overall health, positioning, and cooldowns, they have full health. Their positioning is really good because they have this corner to hide behind and this chokehold-ish. Route 66 choke points are very abstract. But choke point to hide behind because your team has to push forward into the choke to get to them. And then their cooldowns, they have full cooldowns. So as soon as they're not hacked, they're all ready to deal with your EMP. Whereas, not necessarily to say this is bad, but you can get so much better if your team was more ready to engage and if they had a little bit less of each. Because if your team was pushed up to here, maybe their Brigitte's out in the open and these people get cut off and they have to go into there, and then your team uses that as an advantage and turns this into a 5v3 because there's only 3 people in main, including their enemies, 5v2 in main, including their, or just their 2 people here. And so you, in essence, cut their positioning. They have less positioning. So positioning, cooldown, health, and boom, so much more value. And so if you use one rotation of like back here when you were debating about EMPing, if you go behind them and do a hard flank-ish, I would say off angle is even better. So if you hack their Ramatra here, you would cause a lot of havoc. Or first of all, cooldowns, positioning, health. Let's not engage until it's very easy to get back to full health here because you have 2 health packs right next to you. Very important on Sombra to know where the health packs are. How long are we? 23 minutes? Okay, we're fine. Yeah, if you hack this Ramatra here, it would force so many cooldowns. This is actually a good trade for you. It would barely do any of your cooldowns. Your health, you get really fast uptime, and your position, you get really fast uptime with your translocator and your invisibility. So if you hack this Ramatra, you traded just a little bit, sent it into mid-fight, and then EMP'd, they would be, snowball so many different variables that, like, infinite variables to explain. But there would be a much higher chance that you win this team fight. Even, like, you don't have to, like, hard carry it and, like, outshoot the enemies anymore. It's, you set yourself up for success so much so that, the tides are turned for you. Okay. Go further. Do the next team fight. Because, oh yeah, also, I guess to explain why I'm skipping forward, you have setup, mid-fight, and cleanup, right? So I can tell you guys were in cleanup that entire time, and nothing that you can do in cleanup realistically can consistently get you wins. Unless you just kill the entire enemy team, which on Sombra is probably not happening. I usually skip the cleanup phase because, like, the best thing to do in cleanup is just get ready for the next fight and regroup with your team so then you have an even and fair 5v5 with full cooldowns, positioning, and health. Otherwise, you're just wasting time in that cleanup, and they like it if you waste time because they're on defense. Yeah, if you can forever, that's what staggering is. It keeps them in the cleanup phase so they never regroup into a pre-fight and mid-fight. So if you can stagger them and keep them in the cleanup for as long as possible, regardless of what side you're on, then you're wasting the enemy's time and you're controlling the tempo. tempo is also a very high level concept, but like just in general, you know, you're controlling what they do, and if you're controlling what they do, you determine, okay, you guys are losing, and so that's how you're winning. Oh my. Why did that deal like 0 damage there? Oh, nice EMP. So if we're all tracking there, that was a very good EMP. Needless to say, that was a very good EMP. EMPing and denying the enemy's ults like that with the Ramatra and the Sinatra ult was crazy. You stop Ramatra ult through EMP? Was he even ult? He was an ulting. You stop Rally? I don't think you stop Rally. Yeah, no, you don't stop Rally. I was just curious. Just testing to see if I know. But, oh, you guys C9! No way! No way! Okay, so that's awareness. There's no big, like, consistent thing that you could possibly do to not C9, but you had a pretty good EMP there. So I would say, okay, let's go over, I'm going to recap, give you 3 things that you can immediately work on. One, let's talk about your translocator. Your translocator. Translocator. So where you're positioning your translocator and talking about those critical levels on the cooldowns. Cooldowns, positioning, health. Yeah, very fundamental thing of Overwatch. If you take anything away from this, just understanding how 1v1s or any initiation works, because you know a 2v2 is the same thing, just 2 players with zoom out, and it's just the same thing. 2 opposing forces with cooldowns, positioning, and health. 1v1s is the same thing. Even a 1v2, you can take a 1v2 if their aggregate cooldowns, positioning, and health, or their total net cooldown, positioning, health. If you're better, if you're in a better position, you can take that 1v2 and 1v2. If you're in a 1v5, it's the same thing. I hit my microphone, sorry. But yeah, your translocator, when you get low on health, translocate out. Make sure the uptime is good. Positioning. I think you had a really good decision making there. You had a really good idea of like who to hack and when to hack. And then, so the positioning for your translocator is very important. Consider going near health packs, even though the downtime, Route 66 is not the best example. On a Koth map, King of the Hill, like Lijiang, there's so many health packs in like really good places. So that's where I would much rather you utilizing health packs. Just as a generality, I'm not like honing in on you on this one because you were playing pretty well on this map, depending on like on defense. So like that gas station health pack you could have hacked. So consider playing around the health packs and using your translocator for those health packs. And then number 3, honestly, I would say is the EMPs. So getting your EMPs, get them in the mid fight. We don't want to see EMPs in the setup because in the setup, the enemies are ready to deal with it. They have full cooldowns, positioning, and health over the entire team. And so if you EMP, even if it's a really good 5-man EMP, like you had that last 4-man EMP and you guys still didn't win the fight. Why? It's because they had all their cooldowns, positioning, and health to counter it, and they were just ready for the EMP. Versus, like we just I was discussing earlier, if you just get it into that mid fight, act as a catalyst to start that reaction, then you'll get much more value in your EMP in the mid fight, even though you did trade a bit of your positioning and cooldowns. It's so much more worth it because your EMP will provide so much more value. And, you know, that's a controllable variable that you're able to maximize, and that'll dramatically affect your gameplay. Other than that, I'd also recommend hitting the aim trainer, not the aim trainer. Yeah, the aim trainer. I think your aim can be refined just a little bit more. Not necessarily like don't go grinding it. Maybe like 10 minutes each day, just like practicing the different styles, tracking, flicking, and movement also is very important. Being able to 80-80 strafe and be unpredictable to the enemies, but predictable to yourself, so it doesn't affect your aim and you're in full control of your movement and then aim. Will also level up your gameplay and the mechanics wise. But good luck in your next gameplay, your next ranked games. I will post the notes and